I work a lot in Africa as a filmmaker. It's part of the world I just really enjoy being in. I love the people, and I'd been interested for a while to try and tell a story from Congo that wasn't the usual narrative which comes out of the region, which tends to be about conflict, sexual violence, and poverty, and those are obviously really important stories to tell. But I wanted to try and tell a different story, and one day I came across a newspaper article about these rangers in the Virunga National Park. This park I'd never even heard of, with volcanoes and glaciers and mountain gorillas. And I was like, wow, this place sounds incredible. And also this park was pushing forward these really amazing development projects like tourism and hydropower, all to create jobs and ultimately stability in a part of the world which had 20 years of war. That inspired me, really spoke to me, and so I went out to start telling that positive story. Sadly, after about 3 or 4 weeks on the ground, this new civil war started, and at that same time I learned about the park's very serious concerns about illegal oil exploration by British company Soko International. So, Emmanuel and the Rangers are really, it's a David and Goliath battle. Here you have a group of very dedicated Rangers risking their lives up against, very, very powerful forces in a rebel army and a $1 billion oil company, one of Britain's biggest companies. So, the Rangers are very outgunned, but yet they're some of the bravest people I've ever met, and I think there's real hope and optimism that ultimately they'll triumph. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that I was terrified fairly frequently making this film. But ultimately, you always have to check yourself. The Rangers have lived through 20 years of war. They're braver than I will ever be, and you draw courage from that. Whenever I'd get really scared, someone would say, "Come on, pull yourself together. It's not that bad," and that inspires you, and you're like, okay, what right do I have to be scared when these guys are standing there firm as guns fire all around them? We had a lot of moments where, the footage that we were being brought back by there was a lot of different people out there filming undercover, documenting evidence about the activities of Soko International's agents and contractors and supporters. And there was a lot of moments where we started to review the footage and we were like, I cannot believe this person is saying this. Some of the stuff that comes out of these guys' mouths, it's like you couldn't write it in a movie because it's so on the nose, it's almost be cheesy. But they were saying this stuff, and it was regularly blown away. The film, I suppose, is made up from almost 3 different filmmaking techniques. There's kind of journalistic investigative filmmaking, there's kind of verite, and there's also sort of nature documentary. So, pulling it all together was, of all the things that we went through making this film, the one part I didn't think would be a massive struggle would be the edit. Turns out it was a complete nightmare. But we had a fantastic editor in Masahiro Hirokuba who's cut a lot of Danny Boyle's feature films. He cut Trainspotting and A Lifeless Ordinary. Working with him was a real honour, and he brought a really amazing dramatic touch to the film. But maybe the first thing I should say is that what's happening in the Virunga National Park with regards to illegal oil exploration is really something that everyone should deeply care about, because protecting Virunga isn't just about protecting the last of the world's mountain gorillas or a part of eastern Congo which really holds the key to driving forward stability for the entire region. Virunga is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and these are parts of our planet that humanity has decided are so important that we shouldn't be exploring for oil or gas or mining for coal in these very important parts of our world. And so if Virunga, Africa's oldest national park, if somewhere as iconic as that falls in the face of illegal business interests, what on our planet is safe from human greed? So that's why everyone should be very concerned about what's happening. And what we're asking people to do, it's very simple. We really want to spread the story of what's happening on the ground in Virunga National Park to as wide an audience as possible. The film goes on general release on the 7th of November on Netflix. It goes out to 50 million homes in 50 countries. And we'd love everyone to watch it, and if you like it, spread it around. Like, put it on social media, tell all your friends to watch it, because we really need the world to get behind this park, and everyone to say, not in our name are we going to let Virunga fall. Early on in the making of this film, we realised that what we were documenting played out into a much bigger background of history. There's been a cycle of violence in Congo that goes back 130 years, and this sort of cycle is based on the idea of outside sources coming into Congo, taking away its resources, and the end result being incredibly bad for Congolese people. And there's a famous saying in Congo that it's the world's richest country with the poorest people. And what's happening in the Virunga National Park is that process happening on a micro level.